House trickled into the UK, DJs up north embraced this new black dance music from America.
You just had to clear out all the nonsense and make space for this exciting new stuff.
DJs in Manchester weren't just listening to house, they were making it.
I think we had the first British house single. That's the original sleeve, which we bagged ourselves from a little room in Islington in London. I remember that we didn't have any tape or anything to put it onto. We actually recorded it onto cassette and pressed it off the cassette. And it sounds fantastic, you know, it sounds really good. It's a lesson for us all who spend thousands of pounds in recording studios.
House music had crossed the Atlantic. In 1986, its Chicago godfathers came on tour.
There was Frankie Knuckles, Marshall Jefferson, Fingers Inc. with Larry Heard, a genius, absolute genius, and Adonis.
Everybody was wearing ties and shirts, and you know, they were nice and neat, and the DJs, you know, they were back announcing every track, and it was great.
But of course they got to Manchester and there was queues around, you know, the RCN, the queues around the block, packed, and everyone just going mad. Everyone knew the records, treated them like superstars.
When I came back on another tour the next year, everybody's wearing these damn smiley t-shirts and go, ah! Yeah. So it's a big change. Just in 1 year, you know, 1 year we come there, it's nice straight country, and the next year we come back, it's the summer of love. Yeah.
It's a great feeling, you know, that some people from Chicago had arrived in Manchester, and between us, we had a great scene.
They understood the music, and it was kind of like a common bond where people could come together. And just that feeling was more of an inspiration, you know, like, you know, people really need something, they really want to come together, you know, and walk hand in hand, you know.
Joe Smooth's experience on the DJ International tour inspired what was to become a house anthem.
When Joe Smooth hit the stage, it was, I can remember Joe's face as it was yesterday. He came on, I'm trying to remember the venue, we're up north, Huddersfield or something, and there had to be 3,000 people in front of him, and he walked on, and it was like, boo, 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 and there's Joe Smooth in Promised Land, and he sang into the chorus, and everyone knew the words. And here's someone who had just come out of Chicago. He couldn't get arrested with his record. It wasn't on any playlist, maybe 2 playlists out of 1,400 in the States, and here he is, and he's a household name, and girls are throwing themselves on stage.
The song itself is like taking the basic element from the Martin Luther King speech and just expounding upon it on a musical level. When the angels come above, fall down and spread their wings like doves, as we walk hand in hand, sisters, brothers, we'll make it to the promised land.
I remember the same time as Joe Smooth. This is a great irony. The same week, the same month, the same day as Joe Smooth had the track Promised Land on the streets, the Style Council released a cover of Promised Land.
Brothers, sisters, one day we'll all be free from fighting violence.
If the Style Council hadn't released, we would have gone, without question, top 5, maybe number 1. But because, again, the might of the majors, they were buying this piss-poor imitation, you know, of a great classic.
I don't think there's another version that maybe would capture the emotion and the feeling behind the song the way the original version does.
we had the white artist adopting, almost hijacking a sound because they knew it was the sound of tomorrow.
Ibiza played a huge part in the club culture that we know today. Really, because of the style of clubbing, really, I think that was brought back from Ibiza into London.
I'd only ever been in discos where you sit down and like sit and chewing gum, and it's all like, you know, kind of all doom and gloom, and it was like this beautiful open air, like big Garden of Eden.
And you'd see a sunrise while you were still dancing after having danced for like 6 to 8 hours, to this mix of music that you just wasn't hearing anywhere else.
Ibiza had been a playground for Europe's jet set since the 70s.
In the beginning, there was paradise, but man, foolish man, wanted more out of life. So he bit the apple to become wise. There he stood naked.
In 1987, 4 British holidaymakers were to have an experience that was to change clubbing forever.
September '87 was Paul Oakenfold's birthday and mine as well. And I think it was Paul's suggestion that we go to Ibiza for a week to celebrate the birthdays.
I had my birthday party there and invited Holloway, Ramplin and Johnny Walker.
Paul was running a little club in Streatham and plugging records. Johnny was working for London Records, and Danny had just started DJing, you know, just doing a few little things here and there.
None of them were actually DJing in Ibiza at that point. It was very much you know, a clubbing island run by Spanish DJs.
I remember a friend of ours, Trevor, going on about this club called Amnesia, and we'd heard about it, but it was always, you know, it's miles away. We'd have to get a cab there. Don't want to do that.
We got taken along there one night, and you know, just amazed at what Alfredo was doing, you know, with the music.
There was kind of division between disco music and pop music, and we broke with that.
Enigmatic DJ Alfredo spun a Balearic mix of pop and dance music.
I had to make dance a bunch of people that were English, German, French, Spanish, old, young, all different circumstances.
What he was doing was playing right across the board, from rock to pop, disco to everything, every kind of music, and mixing it up.
So he had a mixed crowd there, and I think all he was trying to do was just, you know, play a mixture of quality dance music, you know, and still slip in some of the new things that he was into, which was Chicago house sound. We'd obviously also all been introduced into, like, you know, taking an E.
There was like sweat on their brow and their hairs was all like dishevelled, and they were like, what the fuck is going on here, you know?
I remember seeing Paul Oakenfold and I think Nicky Holloway skipping around the club hand in hand, which they might deny now.
I don't think that it was a necessity, and I don't think that everybody was doing it. I just think E was something that brought the people together in as much as it made them appreciate the music.
As their holiday ended, the 4 friends resolved to bring their summer back to London. In the autumn of 1987, Danny Rampling recreated Ibiza in a gym in Southwark. He called it Shum.
Shum was just a sweat box.
I don't know, it was just lunacy.